Ready? All right, good morning. I call the meeting, the June 4th Public Works and Health and Human Services meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. Do we have any additions or changes to the agenda?
No, sir.
Okay, so I would like to add 10C, discussion in regards to standing up a Parks Board or Commission, or what would it be called? Because you have a,
Basically, it was Parks Commission.
okay, so a discussion on standing up a Parks Commission. Okay.
Do you have anybody?
There was no other changes or additions to the agenda? Okay. All right, thank you. I got a motion and support. All in favor, signify with aye. Opposed? All right, the agenda passes. Moving on to the minutes from May 7th.
I just have one change for the minutes. Frank Holmes is listed as a member, and he should be an attendee.
All right, do I have a motion? Move as amended. All right, thank you. All right, all in favor, signify with aye. Opposed? All right. Oh, okay, we got our first portion of public comment. If anyone would like to make a comment, please come to this podium and keep it within 3 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Brett Gillespie. I serve on the Grand Ledge City Council. I represent Ward 1 for the city of Grand Ledge. I'm here today because I wanted to talk a little bit about the Parks millage that the county has. We had submitted a proposal for one of those Eden County Parks grants, and it was not accepted this year, and I understand there's a lot of competition for that. But I wanted to ask this board to potentially reconsider. We are $104,000 short of our goal to build a $1.2 million ADA compliant playground, basically reinventing J.C. Park. It's my understanding that potentially the committee that had reviewed those applications maybe thought that project was going to be slated for next year, when in fact our plan is, if we can get the funding for it, which we're 90% of the way there, the plan is to actually have that completed in the fall. We'd be putting in a switchback. I don't know if anyone here has been to J.C. Park, but there's like an 85% grade, I might be exaggerating a little bit, from the street down to the park. It's really, really difficult to get down there if you're a senior, have any type of handicap disabilities. But this would put that switchback in. We'd have, like I said, an ADA compliant playground. The playground that's currently there, we had to actually remove sections of it so it doesn't fully connect because it was falling apart. And I mean, we've gotten grants from MEDC, various other institutions. And so I know that money's tight. That's a reality that a lot of municipalities are living in right now. But I do know that there's that Parks millage money, so I was advised to come tonight, this morning. Sorry, I'm used to our meetings being in the evening. Coming this morning and asking, potentially to reconsider or to offer up if there was any extra money in that Parks millage budget for $104,000. That's all that we're short. The communities, we've had a crowdfunding campaign. We've raised about $69,000 from that. Our community's invested in this, and I just would love for the Public Works Committee to see what we can do with that extra Parks millage money. So, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any others? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to item 6, resolution against the MDHHS plan to eliminate and competitively bid out the prepaid inpatient plan.
Sarah Lurie from CMH is here to discuss that. Sarah, did you want to come up?
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to provide some information or context to the resolution that is on your agenda today. So this is an effort by Michigan Department of Health and Human Services to bid out the prepaid inpatient health plan part of the public behavioral health system. So just to explain their role, so the PHP, our PHP for our region here for Eaton County is Mid-State Health Network. That network covers 21 counties and 12 community mental health organizations. It is a public entity. There's representation on their board of county commissioners, of individuals that we serve across the counties. The Medicaid funds pass from the state to the PIHP, to community mental health organizations. And community mental health organizations are able to pick up many of the managed care functions, which have allowed us to create very strong networks of providers and kind of smoothly and seamlessly get people into care. What this would do, bidding it out, there's never been in the mental health code, PHPs, CMHs, and counties are really given the authority to be able to provide these specialty services. So bidding this out at this point, the state is intending to open up that bid to non-public entities and to strip away from community mental health organizations the ability to manage that care locally. So they have put forth some requirements that would make it impossible for any of the current 10 prepaid inpatient health plans to actually bid for continuation. And that is pretty alarming. We have many, many years of experience and history, strong provider networks, lots of local input and authority, all public meetings that would be very much altered, not for the better, if this rebid were allowed to go through. So we are just asking, many counties across the state are taking up and passing this proposal. This is, even in general, even if the state wanted to go forward with this, it ought to be done in collaboration with the counties, with the CMHs. Statutorily and in the mental health code, it really goes against what the mental health code lays out. So there's many things not quite right with this, but the timing is also terrible because we know we're dealing with a lot of uncertainty in the future regarding Medicaid funding, local funding. There's a lot going on right now. So to disrupt a system that's worked for 60 years and has strong networks and cares for some very, very vulnerable people, we're just asking for your support in helping us to slow down, change, or eliminate this effort. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions? Yes, Commissioner.
Thanks, Sarah. Is this the first time this has come up? It seems to me like this privatization opportunity has come up over the years, and I just wondered if you have any sense of like a history of how it's come up and why it hasn't passed yet.
Yes, so it has come up in many forms. Generally, though, it's come up through strong push from Medicaid health plans towards legislators, and then there's been pushes legislatively to make these kinds of changes. That has never passed. I mean, there's a lot of opposition to do that legislatively. This is the first time something like this has come up through MDHHS. So this is a different approach to making these changes. And this time it's really directed towards that prepaid inpatient health plan level, with the false idea being shared that, that it will not change the community mental health role, when indeed it will. Stripping all the managed care functions that are currently being done, stripping the provider network, that local control, stripping open meetings from the PIHP level and our ability to have a voice on their board, those are all going to change what happens on a local level.
Thank you.
The other important point is many of the people who, or organizations that would be eligible to apply are large healthcare entities who do not have a local presence and who do not have the experience that we have of navigating the often 24/7 supports, life supports, social supports that we provide to our intellectual developmental disabled population and our severely mentally ill population.
Any other commissioners have any? Yes, Commissioner.
Yes, I don't understand how going to, or allowing bids from private organizations is gonna change all that infrastructure. I don't understand that. Why would just a competitive bid process make that happen?
The way that it's being set up, it would strip what happens now. The PIHPs are the managed care organization, and they work with all the CMHs in their region and delegate some of those functions locally so that we're able to make decisions locally and to build networks that meet the needs of the folks that we serve. That will all be taken away. So if you think of how a health plan tends to work, there'll be a need for authorizations at every level. There will be disruptions to the system. Also, the administrative costs in a health system are much higher than what you see in a public PIHP, which has about a 2% administrative cost. So that will take funding away from care to make that kind of structure.
Did this request originate from a House bill or a Senate bill?
No, it did not.
How did it come about?
Just simply a press release put out by Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
So there's no law proposed at this point? It's just a suggestion that this be looked into?
No, this is an intent by MDHHS to issue an RFP. So we are simply asking that our counties help to slow this process down and to have some collaborative planning. It really has the ability to be extremely disruptive, and just doing a press release and moving forward with it is frankly kind of scary right now.
I'm assuming the purpose of this is to reduce cost, is that correct?
I don't see how it would do that.
But I think that's the intent behind it, correct?
That has not been stated.
All right, thank you.
Right. Seeing none. Do I have a motion?
I would move that we support this resolution opposing the competitive process for prepaid inpatient health plans. Mainly because it just seems to me like, with funding and with, at the local level, at the federal level, and there's so much unsuredness in the service delivery network for people who need mental health services, that if there's a way that because my sense is that the quality of services will be better, or has been good with the public system. And I'd like to see that, despite the other interruptions and changes that are happening to people who need these services, that have a sustained program and not having those interruptions, I think would be better for community mental health overall. And It's working well now, so why do we need to change it?
Okay, just restate that, that's a motion to support this resolution against it. Do I have a second? All right, seeing none, motion dies. Thank you. Moving on to item 7. Historical Commission.
Hello. Hello, my name is Julie Kimmer, and I'm the clerk for the Eaton County Historical Commission and the manager of Courthouse Square Association, which is the historical group that takes care of the 3 existing historic Eaton County buildings and properties. So I'm the one that prepared the information that Claudine has passed out to you today. We, many years ago, as probably some of you know, there was an enormous amount of more money that was supplied into these organizations. Over the years, it has been reduced. And a few years ago, it was increased just by $2,000. But, so you are able to see, you know, I don't know if I need to go over individual points, but of these specific things. Currently, our funding is at $17,000. The 2 organizations share those dollars. The grand majority of it goes to Courthouse Square Association. We have the properties, the facilities to take care of. We have both the 1845 Eaton County Courthouse. If you're not familiar with that, it sits on Cochrane Road right before the Battle Creek. Then we have the 1873 Eaton County Sheriff's Residence, and we have the 1885 Eaton County Courthouse. All 3 of those buildings are maintained as a part of that, or that portion is $13,000. And obviously, an enormous amount of additional funds that we raise and for other methods. We also archive all the historic documents in Eaton County. So we have reached out to, we have done Vermontville, Bellevue, I mean, all of those, we house those, we store those both physically and on the cloud. We've done all the Eaton County cemeteries. Or at least to our best abilities. Unfortunately, some of those records have been lost. But, so that $13,000 of that portion goes. Then Randy is the president of the Eaton County Historical Commission, and they use $4,000 of that portion. They also fundraise, just like Courthouse Square does, for a number of things. Not only do they do the work to preserve history, but they fundraise because that $4,000 does not cover their budget as a whole. The last thing I want to point out is you had asked information about a fund balance. Courthouse Square for years, almost 20 years, but really on the last 3 years for a really hard push have worked really hard to raise monies for an elevator. We've already dug the pit. We're in the process of, or will be hopefully by Christmas, riding in that elevator. But those are privately donated funds earmarked for that. Each individual that gave money to that knows that goes to the elevator. And our commitment to them, obviously, is if an elevator is not installed, that money will go back to them. So we do have a large fund balance, but it's really, an elevator, as you guys probably realize, is a very expensive endeavor, and those monies really aren't public funds, they're those private individual dollars. So.
Good morning. I'm, as Julie said, with the Historical Commission, and we take the $4,000 that you give us and put whatever we can into it, the donations, and from selling our books, we have printed 5 or 6 books now, and we've helped print other ones through different historical societies, like Sunfield. We helped them print their book on the high school, the graduation people. That's a thick book, probably 300 pages or so. Pictures, fantastic book if you ever get a chance to look at it. But this is one of our books, Echoes of the Past. That's the most recent one. And it's been selling pretty good. I think we're in our 2nd printing pretty quick. All of our monies go to Eaton County people or the organizations. There's 6 historical societies in the county that we help represent, along with Woldemar and Courthouse Square, of course, Watson, Veterans, the Union GR of Eaton Rapids with their museum. Any kind of grants that they request, we look at, and what little we have is about $2,000 or $3,000 a year we
grant to them for their different projects. I don't have a whole lot more to tell you. None of us, there's 13 on the commission, and I was on it, and I think I came on in 2005 or something like that. And ever since, none of us have accepted any stipends for the meetings or anything that we are allowed to take. We have all just left it right there, so that we're history enthusiasts. And I'm a bookaholic, so I love books, and that's part of why years ago we made it that our grants would be pushed toward the history and writing and film and so on. One of the interesting things we did was Miller Farms had some 8mm reels of film or something of their farming, how they were farming back then, and they wanted to put it on, well, back then VHS tapes, and they didn't have the monies to do it, so we gave them the money. So we do everything from writing books to helping these other societies write books and make, like we said, make films and help with their buildings, and just an enormous amount of different things that they ask for, and we are able to allow, 4 or 5 different grants to go out every year. I guess that's it, so thank you.
Anybody have any questions?
I don't have a question, but I got a statement. So when I was first elected in 2018, I was appointed to the Historical Commission, and I didn't know what I was getting into. But I just want to let everybody know, I want to thank you for coming. I think this is probably is this your first time being here? Yeah, so thank you for being here. Now, these people on this commission, Randy, Julie, and the rest of the commission are incredibly dedicated to this county, and it's impressive to watch. And they do all kinds of events and fundraising opportunities. And, I like history, but these people take it to a whole nother level. And so I appreciate everything you guys do, and on behalf of the board, thank you. And keep up the good work.
When you come in your lobby, all those photos and the written history of each one of them was provided by us. Because Eaton County has a lot of significant historical sites, and our future is that we hope to continue to preserve them and at least help. I mean, we can't do it by ourselves, but certainly make a concerted effort to help.
And I'd just like to say thank you for appointing the commissioners that you have, because I belong to quite a few different historical societies in the county and outside the county. And when you go to their meetings, they're all old people like me, but we've got 2 of our younger ones right here now, and they're loading the burden up on their shoulders, and they're taking off with it and helping us tremendously. And so I appreciate that, and your kindness in putting forth people that are helpful with us, and they know their stuff, let's put it that way. They're on the keyboard, and I don't even know what they're doing, but they're very good at it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, Capital Area United Way. Okay. Next would be the MSU Extension.
Good morning.
Morning.
Well, you've got your packets, and I appreciate the new forms this year. That's good. It's good to dig in and get those numbers. And so if I can answer any questions off those specifics, I'd love to do that. I want to go into the annual report first, though, and tell you that we're busy continuing to offer programming in all 4 disciplinary areas in MSU Extension, agriculture and agribusiness, and community development and natural resources, children and youth development, of course, and then health and nutrition. And we spell that out in the report a little bit. We've got some raw numbers for you. As far as on the report that I prepared, the 1,401 attendees includes folks that attended actual educational programs. So that doesn't include folks who picked up indirect programming folks who came into the office, called and got their questions answered, or emailed and got their questions answered, listened to podcasts, et cetera, but that is actual folks that attended programs. As far as the types of programs, there's a sampling of each of the types of programs, but I didn't list them all because there's 434 different educational programs that folks from Eaton County did attend. And I did break it down into the various areas where they did attend. That would be that next section, where 309 in the agriculture, agribusiness, 240 to the community, food, economic, or environment, 287 to CYI, as children and youth, and then 607 for health and nutrition. With the dollars that are given, the local dollars that are provided, we try to leverage those dollars, and we do. So we've said over the years it's anywhere from $3 to $7 in return for every $1 invested in the county, and that comes through folks that are housed at our office that the local dollars do provide for, but also it's the 14 or so other educators that are surrounding within the district that provide education programs, education opportunities, and also direct consultation with folks from the county. So it's at least that. In addition to that, as usual, our staff have been involved in local coalitions and formed many partnerships, which further allow that collaboration and broaden the impact that we can have throughout the county. One additional thing is we are one of the largest volunteer organizations in the country, obviously through 4-H and also with Extension Master Gardener, which is quite a big undertaking because it's just like anything, like from your local church, the more programming you have, the more people you have, but it takes a rigorous vetting of all those volunteers, and so we have quite the vigorous vetting that volunteers go through. So with that said, 258 people from the community volunteered last year through MSU Extension, which is a huge benefit to the community, not only for themselves, but it also shows the support that the local community has for the program. So we're very appreciative of that, and they're extremely valuable to us. In addition to the programs, there's a continuum of newsletters and updates, whether it's farm updates, crop updates, vegetable updates that are continued, prepared and sent out. And those come both from campus and from our educators on the ground who are doing research often. And then there's our website. And the website, which I want to point out there's 29,264,562 contacts through social media, web activity, and e-newsletters. And that's important because one of the main things that even I do when someone comes into the office or someone gives me a call and asks a question is I will pull up the MSU Extension website and I will just put in the search inquiry the topic that they have a question about. And that leads me to an article that an educator has written that will lead me to a program that an educator has going on currently or in the past, and it's immense resource that we have because of our statewide footprint and actually nationwide footprint, and so I wanted to point that out. In addition to that, the Product Center, which is run by MSU Extension, but on campus, we had actually 17 customers from Eaton County who participated in the Product Center, and these are folks who are entrepreneurs, and so they come to the Product Center to figure out how to bottle or can their product, and then how to get their labels properly done. And so we had 17 customers from Eaton County that involved in one form or fashion 30 employees, so creating jobs, and over $1.5 million in annual sales from those entrepreneurs. So it's something that's a little less known. I don't think I've ever reported out what the Product Center does, but I was able to get those numbers, so I thought I would, because there's a lot of things that we do that sometimes I'm not aware of. It's hard to keep tabs on that. In addition to that, we still have soil samples that folks come to the office, and that's one thing about the public facing. So people come in the office to ask their questions. They'll come into the office to pick up a soil sample, drop something off for 4-H, buy a manual or a book for pesticide application so that they can renew their license. And so we had 50 commercial farm soil test samples that were processed last year, and then 11 homeowner soil tests. And actually, we're into the season right now. And we had a dip the year prior to that when we changed out on the lab because the lab on campus stopped doing them, and then we had to set it back up. That's only started to grow now. So there was a lull in that, but it's growing back to what it was pre that, and so we're happy with that. In addition to that, there was 51 participants, and those are 51 farms or farmers that directly, not just agricultural programs. So I wanted to point that out, and Corey does a great job, actually filled in and is actually in Mason, but has taken over where Roger Betts, after he retired, and working with farmers on succession planning and tax planning. And so that's still a very important part of our office. In addition to some of those types of programs, whenever there's emerging issues, like with the HPAI outbreak, our educators will do the research on that, bring that, and then put together programming on that. And pictured in one of the pictures there is Katie Okert, who is one of our educators to the north in Ionia County, to put something together for backyard flocks, and she's also done something for pig biosecurity. So that's important. One other thing that I want to emphasize is the work of our community nutrition instructors in bringing basic nutrition education to the folks in the county. They're one of our strongest programming aspects of the office, and I'm very thankful for them and all that they do working with those who are SNAP eligible. And I do point out that is because we have such a large impact, but that's one of the things that is potentially going to be impacted with the legislation that was passed in the House and then goes to the Senate now. So there's SNAP education that may be impacted in that bill if it gets passed in its current form. We've adapted over the years. We'll continue to adapt. We'll provide online education. If we have to do online education, we'll continue to send people out in person because that's where the demand is. And we adjusted the budget impacts, but it becomes more and more difficult. I just wanted to emphasize that that's a very strong program, and I have a couple just short stories in that regard. One other page that I want to emphasize is social media, because that's a big part of everything. And Heather Dyer in the office, I had her do a whole page. She's got a page on I think 4 of her posts. But she spends a lot of time getting information out, and that's used locally, and it's used statewide, and in some sense it's used nationwide. And it's providing information, education, and she's very good at the things that she does, and we're very thankful to have her in the office. So that's just a brief overview. Besides 4-H, which we've got, in addition to those other numbers, there's 479 youth who are active or were active, and that's just continuing to grow back. We had a lull in that. Now it's growing back. And they're active in traditional 4-H clubs and having that opportunity to pick a project, do hands-on learning, have to present about that. Many times that culminates with showing that animal in the fair. It doesn't always. There's plenty of other educational opportunities and leadership and civic engagement for our 4-H youth, but that program is doing very well. So that's just a taste of some of the programming over last year. I did want to point out, and I want to apologize, because in the handout, the document where you wanted the facts, I've got these 2 maps, and at the time when I was doing them, I was focused in and I was close, but then when I looked at it the other day, I couldn't expand it and see what I even put in there. But I was trying to emphasize that we've got, because you asked for where is our program. This is happening throughout the whole county. And so I did a quick search to where I could, but you've got 400 some odd programs that are happening that Eaton County residents participated in. As I was able to see it in the 48917 zip code, that was leading slightly over the 48827 zip code as far as numbers of programming. And then, but we had good representation in 48813, 48837, 49021, 49073. I'm throwing out numbers, but I'm sure that you all are tuned in to those zip codes. And I wanted to emphasize that on the districts that you have, and then also in the zip code representation that covers the county plus the peripheral of the county, which a lot of times it attracts that our programming is pretty well spread out. And with that, I'll close and ask for any questions.
Questions?
All right,
Very much.
very good. Thank you so much.
All right, moving on to number 8, construction codes.
Good morning, everybody. The 2 conditional use permits and the 2 site plan reviews and the zoning board of appeals all passed. They were all approved. Moving on, I'm asking for you guys to forward the memorandum for my fee changes to Ways and Means. Do you guys have any questions on that?
Any commissioner questions on the fee schedule changes? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
I move that we approve the fee schedule.
Okay, I got a motion and I got a support. All right, so all in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Do you have any questions on anything else? Thank you. Have a good day.
Yep. All right, moving on to resource recovery.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Just a few things in our report. We did hold our event on May 10th. We had 800 people registered, and the event went very successful. We didn't encounter any issues. We were able to fill the tire trailers, and usually the vendors are about a month for their reporting. So next month I'll be able to have numbers for you on household hazardous waste, tires, and electronics recycling. And the other issue of note in my report is the materials management plan is moving ahead. I had to call a special meeting this past month in order to work towards our June 30th deadline for passing the work plan or work program and submitting it to Eagle. We did make quorum last week, and our materials management planning committee was able to pass the work program unanimously. And just a brief overview of what the work program is. It's a 1-year timeline that outlines all the work that's going to be performed within that year in order to prepare the writing of the new solid waste plan for the county. And Eagle, in the first 3 years, are providing funding support for the planning efforts, and it's $60,000 for the first 3 years, and then also 50 cents per capita. And so included in the work program is another document. It's technically a grant, and in that document, the spreadsheet, there are line items that budget out various costs associated with the planning. And most notably, with the planning is myself, the Resource Recovery Director, is likely to spend 60% effort on this materials management plan and in preparation and planning for it. And so written into the grant is 60% of my salary. And in additional to that, we have various meeting supplies, engagement supplies, advertising and outreach. We're going to have to do a lot of community engagement, engage the townships, engage the businesses, engage residents. So we're going to be holding town halls this year, later in the summer and early in the fall. We also have line items in there for some materials for equipment. Part of this materials management plan is looking at food waste and organic waste. And so the department is looking at piloting some programs within the next year on food waste collection. And we also have some contractual services in there. Whatever our department cannot handle, we will be putting out RFPs and hiring consultants to look at food waste audits or industrial audits and various waste audits and more technical analyses than we're capable of. And the total for the grant is $109,054.37, and included in that is a 15% indirect cost that'll go into the general fund. So that is written into the grant, and as this moves through to Ways and Means and to the full board, which is the county approval agency, it'll be submitted to Eagle. And within, other counties are seeing within 2 weeks, they're receiving their grant contract. So we're really hoping that in July, we'll be able to receive grant approval for this and be able to move forward with the planning process. And if you'd like more information, the work program is in your packet, and the grant information is in your packet too. And so on the agenda is a resolution to move the materials management plan work program to vote.
All right, so does anybody have any questions? Yes.
I would move the resolution as written.
Okay, I got a motion and support. All in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Does any commissioner have any questions? Yes, Commissioner.
So did you say that you had 800 sign up for the May 10th in Delta?
Correct.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
The next event, Saturday, August 9th in Charlotte.
Correct.
If I have my times right, it's 9 to 2?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Do you still need, did you get enough volunteers for the other one, or do you still need volunteers for the August event?
Yes, we got enough volunteers, and we're always looking for more volunteers to relieve people and make the event smoother. So
And they can call the number that's on the flyer to sign up to volunteer?
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Just wanted to get that out there again.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I got a question. Your food waste, what's the end state of that, right? Because, you know, plastics and cardboard get sold on. So what's your plan for the food waste?
Yes, there's various programs throughout the state. A lot of what we're seeing are private companies are offering services to restaurants and schools and other institutions where landfilling the waste. A lot of these diversion businesses and the entire industry are looking at coming in under landfilling. So when they price out their services, they're looking at, can we beat a dumpster and can we beat a landfill? And so in the industry, they're looking at what it's costing to dispose of and landfill a lot of this waste. And restaurants are actually paying for additional services where they're getting their food waste picked up. Pre-consumer waste typically, so there's less contamination, and schools are doing this too. Lansing has just started a program, and some other communities in the area. And even private residents are signing up, so people are paying $5, $10 a month and leaving a bucket with their garbage on the side of the road, and they're picking up the food waste. And most of the food waste in this area is going to Hammond Farms, and with their operations, they take in a lot of yard waste, wood chips, and in order to properly compost, they need nitrogen-heavy materials. So we call them green waste, as opposed to brown waste in the compost industry. And in order for them to make their product, they need as much food waste or green waste as they can get in order to properly compost all the additional municipal organic waste that they get from all the leaf piles. And so we're working with Hammond Farms. They're on the committee, and we're looking at sending that over to Hammond Farms. And within all of these discussions, of course, are finances but the system, there are models out there and there are systems out there that we're looking to do this via, that's ways that are economically viable.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none?
All right, thank you.
All right, moving on to number 10, Parks and Rec.
So as many of you are aware, we do not have a Parks Director at the moment. So we are going back to the previous model of the Facilities Management Director and myself overseeing that department for the time being, get through the budget and then readdress that. The arrangement is only possible due to the incredible staff you have over at the Parks Department. They are great people. They're all hard workers. And they're excited about the summer and all the programming that they have. Mr. Powers and I will be going over there at least once a week. We'll take turns going over and spending some time over there with them. We don't anticipate any issues with that. The Fitzgerald Park lease is on the agenda as well. Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, I'll wait to do the action item to the end, if that's okay.
Yes.
The Parks, Fitzgerald Park, staff continues to evaluate and address park operations during the city's water treatment plant expansion. That's a big job out there, so they're working with that as it goes and making arrangements to the park's operations from there. The Planning Commission, as Mr. Griffith or Mr. Garrison mentioned earlier, did get approved last night, so we will be moving forward with getting quotes on the new entrance that will come in off from Flanders Road. Under events and programming and projects, there's a list there of everything they have going on with some upcoming events. The operations update, they continue to work on some storm cleanup and some of the different projects they have there. The storm cleanup, I do have a specific list of that from Ben Young's, but it's my understanding Fox Park is almost complete. They're still working on Optimus Park. There's quite a bit at Optimus, so they are still working on that. The Nature Center demolition is complete. That was at Fitz. Mr. Powers and I were out there last week looking at that. The park stairs construction, that is under contract. We have selected a contractor, and we're in the process of going through that contract before it's signed and they begin work. The report says the Crandall dock installation has been delayed. That was written before the dock has been installed. The delay meaning, unfortunately, we're not able to get it in before Memorial Day due to the weather. But it is installed now and people are able to be out there and enjoying it. That is all I have for the report, unless there are any questions.
Any questions? Yes, Commissioner.
Claudine, thank you for the report, and you're wearing a lot of different hats today. But thanks for jumping in and filling in for us. What is the installation delay on the Crandall dock? I'm assuming we're
The
talking.
weather before Memorial Day, if you
Right.
remember right, was pretty bad.
Mhm.
And so they weren't able to get it installed before Memorial Day, but it is installed now.
It is now, okay, thank you. Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yep, I just talked to Ben yesterday and he said it is installed.
All right.
All right, any other questions?
So then we can go back to the parks lease if you would like to open that
Yes.
discussion.
Yes. Yeah, so B is the resolution to approve Fitzgerald Park lease renewal with the city of Grand Ledge. I see we have the mayor, but does anybody have any questions about this? Yes, Commissioner.
Well, I've got a lot of concerns about it because this lease is very similar to the one that was presented to us roughly a year ago. And,
Hang on. Yeah. Can I get a motion?
yes.
And then
I
that
would
way
mo-
we can
for
open up
purposes of
discussion.
discussion, I will move this resolution.
Do I have a second? Support. All right. Okay, now open up discussion. Excuse me.
I am very concerned with the ambiguous language that's in this lease, as was in the other lease that was presented. For instance, paragraph 3, I would like someone to define the word adequate for me, adequate investment.
So we've had a lot of discussion about this, and so I'm going to go back 100 years ago because I've been here that long. But the county has operated the park for years. It's been a great partnership. I think when we're saying adequate and, if we have to do something to change the wording, it's basically saying that we're not just going to operate it and do nothing. So for years, the county has operated it and has had no money. Now you have a parks millage. If you're going to operate the park, we should expend money to keep it up. So the staircase is a good example. And that was a safety issue for years, right? We tried to do something a long time ago, couldn't fit it into the budget. Now we have the millage. They had to tear it out because we couldn't get anything started. So when we're talking adequate, it's about making sure that we are putting money into it and not just sitting on it and having our office there and running programs. And I think the council members, mayor could get up to speak to that if that's what you're looking for as far as adequate. But I think it's adequate does not commit you to anything. It's just saying they want recognition for the fact that if we're going to operate it, we're going to take care of it and do things to improve it. Doesn't mean you have to go and spend $2 million there. So it would be a discussion, and let's just remember, we're operating it. We're the ones that hold the money. You control it, so you can, approve something or not. So I think, and I'll let Mr. Gillespie speak.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity just to clarify that. I think, we put in the ambiguous language because we didn't want to put a number on it because we understand budgets change. But the big thing for me, I've been involved in these negotiations since I joined council in 2018, is just we'd like to see some investment beyond just the regular normal maintenance of it, especially now that there's a park millage. So we put that ambiguous language in there intentionally so that it wouldn't hold, the county commission or the city to any definitive number that had to be hit or something like that.
So does this adequate apply only to the leased portion that Eaton County leases out of the entire park?
I believe so. I don't
Yes.
know why it wouldn't, yes.
So that, what I see outlined here on our map, does not extend up into the dam portion, correct?
That's my understanding.
Well, we just paid to have that nature center taken out, and that's not in our lease portion. Was that adequate?
I mean, investment's been done at the park, so I would say yes, absolutely.
Well, I can't support this lease the way it's written, and I certainly would not approve a lease for 7 years, given the fact that you haven't even really started construction on that water treatment facility, and we still don't know the impact that's going to have on the park. So I would oppose this resolution.
So
Oh, go ahead.
I just want a little bit on the wastewater treatment plant. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's not an easy process. So there's a delay. There are funding issues. It's been an extensive undertaking for the city of Grand Ledge. I think that's not really going to impact the operation of the park. Will it be, an eyesore? Sure, and we've already discussed that, and it takes the sledding hill away. But again, we are doing a lot of events there. I know we have Crandall Park now, but this has been the county park. This has been the one that has been the main park. Again, we've operated it. I understand, I'm not trying to change your mind. I just want to support Grand Ledge and the efforts they have and the fact that they've wanted to partner with us to operate it. To me, it says a lot about the success that the county has had and continuing to have, that they want us to still partner with them.
Yes, Commissioner.
I would keep in mind that we went out and asked the public for a millage. We've been operating this park for, I don't know, 40 years or so, and the public knows that. This park is one of the best parks, not only in this county, but in the region. And for us to tell the public, yeah, thank you for your money, we're gonna take it elsewhere. I think that's not being honest with the public and its intent. Now we have the opportunity to do something with this park, this beautiful park. It's used for so much research and the schools go to this park to learn and educate, and to be able to put now finally some dollars in there is a great opportunity. I mean, other counties would love to have this park. Even though we don't own it, it is part of the whole county, and that's what we're here to, preside over. And to take funding away just because now we have a grant, or a millage that so we can say, well, we're just going to put it in our parks we own, I don't think is the right course of action. And the partnership that we have and the message we send to other partners around the county is that, thank you for your dollars, but, no thank you. I just don't think that's the right course of action.
Yes, Commissioner.
Well, clarification, I never said take funding away. I said I don't want to renew the lease the way it's written. I don't have a problem with doing a year-to-year lease on the footprint that we've given, but here's my concern, and I voiced it before. We don't know how much this construction effort of the water treatment facility is going to tear up the entrance or any other portions of the park. We have no clue. We've not been given that information. We do know the sledding hill's going away. We did take out the nature center. We were asked to take out a kayak dock that we said no. That's not in our portion of the park. I don't have a problem letting Grand Ledge manage this park till that water treatment facility is done, then we revisit a lease. And certainly I don't have a problem with them requesting grant funds through our Parks Millage program. But to go 7 years with some ambiguous language and not knowing how much destruction is going to be caused by that construction, I think we need to step back a little bit, let Grand Ledge do what they're going to do, and when it's complete, we go back. Now, they've talked about an additional road. I don't see that in here, so that's good. But construction traffic's got to enter and exit that park somehow. Are we supposed to maintain that road going in and out? You're going to have heavy equipment going in and out of there. I'm assuming you're going to be taking like gravel trains in and out of there. They're not light. So I don't see renewing a 7-year lease when it is so open-ended as to what's going to happen in that park.
So in the report, whenever I said we continue to work with Grand Ledge, we're constantly working with them on what this means and where we're at in the current situation and how we're gonna look forward to doing things. We're currently investigating possibly paving that 2-track to help alleviate pressure on the traffic in and out. The trees are all gone now. They've given us a map of where the facility is going to be. So we're working through those things as they come up in partnership with the city. I would also add that this board has previously committed to this park and how important it is by including it in the strategic plan that you just had done and adopted earlier this year.
That's all true.
Yes, Commissioner.
Yeah, I'm gonna disagree on the ambiguous language. I understand that's something new, but this contract, this lease is not new. It's the same as leases we've done previous. Yeah, it's got some different language in it, but nothing's changed. Nothing has changed. I mean, adequate, that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't hold us to any legal obligation. From their standpoint, hey, you got a millage now, we got some money. We'd just like to see some, adequate improvements, because before it was just maintenance. We didn't have any money. We didn't have any money to improve it. So I understand that there would want to be some language in there to say, hey, could you maybe do a little bit more? I would want that too. To me, that's not ambiguous. And again, this lease is the same lease as we always have done. So to me, it's not ambiguous, but we'll just have to disagree on that.
Well, he admitted it was ambiguous, so I'm going to go with what he defined it as, but
All right, I got a question. Maybe I didn't see it in there. Are they allowed to request a community parks grant for things in the portion that we're leasing?
No,
No?
no. That's in the grant.
The grant
Rules.
criteria specifically states you're not allowed to request funding in a county park, and this is city property, but it is a county park on city property, so they would not be able to apply for things specifically in Fitzgerald Park.
Okay.
This, I will just say, I know that Mayor Mulder is here, but I will just say, this whole lease has been in the works for quite a while now. We've been actually just operating the park without having a lease renewed. I think, I'm going to say as the administrator, it doesn't make sense that we are not going to continue something like this and waiting and just continuing to operate. Or worst case scenario, we don't do anything, we don't have a lease, what are we going to do? We're going to move our offices? That's not an easy undertaking. So if we move those offices, that's going to take time. City could just say, well, we're shutting down. It just doesn't make sense when the whole goal of the parks millage was to ensure that we were providing parks for the county, regardless of who's operating it. I mean, if we were operating at another park, it would be the same thing. So I know that. Do you want to add to that?
Does anybody, yes, Commissioner.
I just wanted to ask Commissioner Drosha, it seems like the main hiccup you have here is on the word adequate. Would it
No.
be tenable to you if the county will make investments into Fitzgerald Park beyond that of normal park maintenance and just strike the word adequate?
I don't like the way that's worded, but that's not the main by any means. The main is that, again, I go back to that construction project. We don't know at this point how much that's going to disrupt that park. I mean, let's take the car show, for example. I'm a car guy. I wouldn't take my car to a show where there's construction of that caliber going on. Too many risks. But the bottom line here is, I mean, I'm not saying not work with the city of Grand Ledge, and I'm a little disturbed that that's what keeps coming back to me. I'm saying I'm not willing to renew a 7-year lease at this point, or even consider a 7-year lease at this point. If we want to do this year to year and see how that construction project impacts the park, I'll go year to year, not with the word adequate in there, because I don't want to be in an arm wrestling match over what adequate means to you versus what it means to me. Now, if you want to contain this in that footprint that we saw on the map, so that all we do is adequately maintain that little area, I'd be okay with that year by year, not 7 years. When you get done with your project, we'll take a look at it and see how much destruction it's caused and how well it turned out. I mean, we've been asked to put a stairway down to a trail that's not handicap accessible. You get to that concrete bridge, you can't go east.
Commissioner, did he answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Anyway.
Is there any other questions? Is there something that you need to add, Mayor?
You know what, I don't think so. We've been working on this lease for a number of years. The footprint of our upcoming wastewater treatment plant is finished. We know the footprint, and I don't think, and Brett might be able to correct me, the sledding hill stays where it is, it doesn't change. The roads going in and out, and I understand construction traffic. We also have, we put a new roadway in off of, I'm gonna say it was Eaton Highway, that we will possibly be using for some of that traffic. For you folks to even consider paving the 2-track in there, to me, is a waste of money. We paved the original road that goes in there now and paid for it. I think the word adequate, you determine what adequate is. Don't spend any money on anything. Mow the lawn, okay? And in 4 years or 3 years, when that wastewater treatment plant is done, if you want to spend more money, and I know my colleague here disagrees with me, I don't care how much money you spend there. You either want to lease the park, which was a part of your push to pass the millage. Fitzgerald Park, people think that is a county park, which in my view is. The city owns the land, it's your park. You maintain it, you take, there's other things in that park that have never been addressed either. There's an old barn building, theater, call it what you want, that has never been discussed. My point is very simple. We're just asking for a lease instead of going year to year. And if you don't want to do 7 years, then bring it back to us at 5 years, bring it at 10 years, to go back and forth and back and forth. And the treatment plant, the footprint is done. Unfortunately, we've had to cut some trees down because that's how it works when you're adding on to a facility. So that being said, I'm not here to argue. Adequate to me is whatever you guys feel adequate is. I don't care what it is. I mean, I do, but that's your call.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion and a second on the floor. That is to approve the let me make sure. Resolution to approve the Fitzgerald Park lease renewal. And yes, Commissioner.
I have a question concerning, not really a question, but concerning the lease term on the lease. Can it be made in conjunction or aligned with what the millage is? For instance, several years down the road, when we need to renew the millage and it fails, what do we do at that time?
So the current lease agreement request is typically these are for 10 years at a time. That's historically what they've been. So the current one is for 7 years, and with the option to renew it for another 10 years up to the millage decision. And if the millage is extended, then another 10-year term would be requested for renewal. So it is aligned with the millage.
Thank you.
All right, yes, Commissioner.
I don't know if anybody has this answer right now, but I'd like to know how many acres is the park in total, and how many acres is our lease agreement for?
So the lease agreement that's in white is the technical lease agreement. We cannot hold a lease on the rest of the park because of how it was purchased with some, I want to say, a land and water conservation resource grant of some kind. We have had discussions about having a separate agreement, if you will, to maintain some of those trails, but we physically cannot hold a lease on that other property because of how it was purchased.
I understand that, but that doesn't answer my question, Claudine. How many acres is the park in total, and how many acres is our lease for?
There's a survey in here. Let me see if there's a lease or a amount on it. We can certainly get those numbers. I don't see one on the survey, but we can certainly get those numbers and provide them.
All right, because I know there's a huge area there that, I mean, you can see it on this map, trails and things like that, that are outside of our lease, but yet we still are asked to maintain, which I don't have a problem with as long as we're getting paid to do that, or getting, our return is adequate. But, I mean, as far as the sledding hill that the mayor mentioned, they're gonna put a water tower there. I don't know where the tower's gonna be in particular, but it looked like it took up a good portion of the top of that sledding hill. So maybe the hill itself will remain, I don't know. But again, if nothing else, I would suggest that we postpone this until we get more information here and maybe change some of the language in the lease. I still, that adequate thing, and trust me, I've dealt with contracts, both union and business. You do not use the word adequate for anything. It's too open-ended.
All right, we got a motion and a second. All in favor with supporting the resolution to approve Fitzgerald Park lease, signify with aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
So it's 2 noes and 3.
Okay, it passes.
Should we have a roll call vote?
You calling a roll call?
Roll call
All right,
vote.
roll call vote, please.
I need the sheet to see who's on the committee.
Well, I don't have it in no more.
I can look it up.
Oh,
I got it. Commissioner Whitaker,
Yes.
Brian DeRosa,
No.
Jacob Toomey,
Yes.
Scott Hansen,
No.
Nicole Christensen. No. So that's 3 noes and 2 yeses. So the motion failed.
All right. All right, so, yes, Commissioner.
So my question is there a way to rewrite this lease so that you're saying the water treatment plant's going to take 3 to 4 years? So that the lease goes for the 3 to 4 years, once that treatment plant's done, everything can be reevaluated at that time, and then do a lease that gets us to the end point of the next millage grant? Is that?
Well, what I would recommend to quasi-park director, Claudine,
I'm listening.
is that they go back and they discuss it at the Parks Board level. And then either bring something back or decide what they want to do. That's what I would say. Did you have something, Commissioner?
I just had a clarifying question for Commissioner Christensen. So are you just asking that we renew this lease for 4 years instead of 7? Okay. Is there any major problem with that, really?
Language.
There's not.
Okay, I'd like to move.
I didn't know if it would take going back with both sides and renegotiating, or if it was something that could be done today.
Well, you can send something out of committee. It still has to go through Grand Lodge as well. And then it has to go to the full board.
So that would be my suggestion. I mean, that's my personal take.
You got to make a motion.
I make a motion that we revamp the lease or amend the lease to 4 years. Once the construction with the water treatment plant is done, we'll reevaluate at that point.
All right, so your motion is to amend the lease agreement from 7 years to 4 years. Do I have a second?
Support.
All right, so I have a second. Open it up for discussion, yes?
So this means we're gonna send it back to City of Grand Ledge to rewrite. They will propose it, bring it back to us next month. Is that what we're saying?
Well, we can rewrite it, send it to our board based on the changes that Commissioner Christensen made, but then it has to go through city council for their approval.
Okay.
Once they approve it, you've already approved it, it's done.
And just for clarification, I know what the mayor said about 3 to 4 years. I also heard one of his people here at a meeting we had last year say it was a 10-year project. I don't know what the deadline is for operation is on it. So I'd like to have that information before we determine our lease agreement. At the very least, that would be a simple letter from, I assume, a contractor, or what have you, but I wouldn't just arbitrarily pick a lease year, not knowing exactly how long that project is going to last.
Okay.
Just for clarification, because somebody said amendments to the lease, the only amendment you're proposing to the lease is the time frame of 4 years, correct?
Oh,
All right, yes.
I can't agree to that unless the language is addressed also.
Duly noted. Next, Commissioner.
Would you be amenable to a friendly amendment striking the word adequate and keeping the rest the same? Okay.
Okay, then I call a roll call vote.
Jane Whitaker,
Yes.
Brian DeRosa,
No.
Jacob Toomey,
Yes.
Scott Hansen,
No.
Nicole Christensen, Keith Barber,
Yes.
4 to 2, so that passes.
All right, so that language will go and get changed and go back through the process. All right, so item C is the item that I add. I wanted to bring up the discussion of standing back up a Parks Commission. Since the millage has passed, we went through 2 parks directors, and I think we need to, I'm trying to look for the words here, but we need to stand up a Parks, in my opinion, we need to stand up a Parks Commission to do a better job of hiring the next
Parks Director, or maybe more oversight of the parks. I don't know, but that's why I put it on there as a discussion, so. Does any, yes, Commissioner?
Is that a resolution or
No.
suggestion? Just something to talk about?
Something to talk about, yes.
Okay. Well, I used to sit on the Parks Commission. I think one of the things we lost when we dissolved that Parks Commission was the ability to talk about the minutia of the parks. And so that when the report came to this committee, we weren't talking about nickels and dimes. So I would move or recommend that we go back to a Parks Commission with the same makeup that we had in the past. And I think that was Road Commission, Drain Commission, I can't remember who all was on it.
Is any other, yes, Commissioner?
Yeah, in my opinion, it's a step backwards. We've been down that road. We had the Parks Commission, you know, they were there doing the job, but we created a Parks Work Group. There wasn't anything that we discussed here in our discussions that weren't discussed there. It was just another group out there. And it's, in my opinion, it's going backwards. I don't agree with it at all.
Yes, Commissioner.
I'll give you 2 examples where I think the Parks Commission would have benefited the county, and that's the storm damage at Lincoln Brick and the storm damage at Fox Park. That storm happened over 2 years ago, and the trees are still laying there because we went through 2 parks directors that did nothing. And those were easy repairs because we have companies in this area that were willing to go in there and log those out right after the storms. Nothing got done. And the thing about the Parks Commission was it did hold the Parks Department's feet to the fire. And we talked about what's the next step? What are we going to do? So I disagree, Commissioner, but.
Well, I'm sorry. Yes. Well, what I'm hearing then is that there's people on this board that don't have any faith in our controllers and their ability and their office to hire. That's what I'm hearing.
That's not what I'm saying.
No, well, that's exactly what I heard, because now you're putting it in the control of this board that you're making. And there's nothing that board can make decisions on. It all comes here anyway. And we have the park group that you're a part of, where we dive deep into all the minutia. And I don't see this board doing the work that we're doing. So I totally disagree.
Well,
Yes,
I'll end with this comment then. The minute we dissolved the Parks Commission, everything at the parks, almost everything, came to a grinding halt, and we went through 2 parks directors and got nothing done. I'll just leave it at that.
Yes, Jane. Sorry about that.
My recollection, being on the Parks Commission in the past and being in the work group now, I think the model that we have now works really well. I think that one of the reasons that we ended the Parks Commission was because staff couldn't determine who they reported to. I mean, the commission really had no power. They had, they could say things and we could talk about stuff, but the commission didn't supervise the employee, right? That was a part. The other part was that, we have this millage now with a lot of money to keep track of. And we felt like that needed to be brought in internally to be monitored and watched by, our staff. And there was so much ambiguity with the Parks Commission on who did what, who didn't do what, who reports to who. It just seemed like it made more sense to have, an internal structure where, in other departments, that the director reports to the controller and that we make decisions here on the Public Works and Planning Committee.
Okay, thank you. Oh, yes, sorry, Nicole. Or Commissioner, yes.
So the Parks Director is not an elected position. It's a hired position. I'm assuming Human Resources does that?
So it obviously goes through the normal hiring process, but I will say that this board, even though there were past members, had 3 members of the board who sat in on both interview and made the decision. The decision was made by members of this board. Members of this board will be the ones who make decisions about everything. The Parks Commission, from my history here, what ended up happening is Parks Commission would make a recommendation, and then there was always a battle. It was kind of a problem in relationship to who they answered to. So you get a director and they think they're answering to the Parks Commission, they're answering to this board, they're answering to me, to my role. I would agree that it's a step backward. This was undertaken, this change coincided with the millage, the passing of the millage. And it was to allow this board to be the decision-making body and without any delay by another commission. The chairman formed a parks work group. That work group went through the strategic plan that was done. It has gone through everything that's happened in the parks. It cannot control if we hire somebody that works out or doesn't. It can't control whether somebody, comes to work here and then resigns. But everything goes through this committee and then to the full board. So adding that other layer and not putting the control in on members, by members of this board in the Parks Work Group does not make, I guess it just doesn't make sense. It's another level, which is why it was eliminated. And it was a process through legal counsel that we went through to eliminate the commission. Now we're gonna go back through and create that other layer again. It doesn't make sense. And the other thing, and I know our HR director is standing here, we have hiring issues throughout this county. The turnover that we have had at Eaton County in the last 3 years is like nothing we've experienced. We went for 2 millage ballot proposals to secure the county finances going forward. And then when that didn't pass, the board made the determination to put a public safety millage on to at least protect police services and animal control. Look where we're at today. This is about changes in what is happening in local government in general. That's why we're in a relationship with Grand Lodge. It's putting the county efforts along with city and communities to make us stronger as a county, period. That's why we're considering the Delta contract again. We said, and I'll say it, we said over and over and over again that that contract was gone, that road patrol was gone, and now we're back to negotiating a contract because they can't make the ability to create the police force. We're working and partnering. It's a simple thing for me, and I've said it before. I get frustrated because we're just trying to get business done. This is not harming us. I'm being respectful to the point that I can, but we're just preventing progress in Eaton County by doing this. And that includes the lease. And it's no disrespect to members. It's just the fact that my job is to make sure that we're moving forward. And in this case, we're not.
Thank you. Yes, that's why I put it on the agenda as a discussion. Educated the newer members of this board, right? So, yes, Commissioner.
I wasn't done, sorry. So, thank you for that answer. I do believe transparency is huge, and the public deserves that. Is what they're requesting. The reason I asked about that not being an elected position and being a HR, board type position, who would the Parks Director answer to? I mean, specifically, as far as who would be their boss?
I am the boss.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can all agree and we can vote yes if we think we found the right person after doing interviews, but obviously the past shows that that's not always what it seems to be. So here moving forward, is there a way to do more checks and balances with this person that would be hired so that, I don't want to say you have to hold an employee's hand, but at this point in the beginning, it seems like we're going to have to hold an employee's hand.
I would say we already are.
We have, and we have been with both individuals. It's a process, obviously, but we no longer have that individual and we're going to move on. But right now, we're in a crisis budget-wise, so that is why you're gonna have Claudine dealing with the portion of the park. We stabilized the maintenance and operations with putting Chad Facilities in charge of it, so that if we had a vacancy, we were only dealing with the programming piece of it.
I think over the last year, a lot has been done with the parks. I think you would all agree. More has gotten done the last year than we've seen in several years, and that's due to the restructure that Controller Sobey has instituted, then you guys have agreed to. You have now Chad Powers, the facilities director, in charge of all of the maintenance, and then you have a parks director that's just in charge of parks. I work closely with that person. We meet with them every other week. The controller's office, meaning myself, and then I inform Connie, constantly knows what's going on and where projects are at. And that's reflected with the work group and in these meetings. And I know Ben's been standing here a long time.
No, you guys are doing great, so. I would just add that, oh, sorry.
Yes, Commissioner.
I'm going to go back to the hiring thing, okay? Sometimes it just doesn't work out, okay? It's nobody's fault. Like Controller said, it was commissioners sitting in that and hiring both people. They look impressive. They're both, I mean, but until someone actually does the job, you really don't know. And going forward, I mean, we all know Claudine and Chad and their work ethic and the job that they do. And we already know that the job is going to get done with them until that. So as far as this thinking that this committee would have changed any of that is in my mind ludicrous, because they have no power. We can go look at another person and hire another person, and that person, you just don't know. It can look good on paper.
Right.
So this notion that it was somehow Controller Sobey's fault or her office
No,
or
and
somebody
I wasn't
else.
on the board then, so I didn't know. I'm trying to just.
But that's been stated more than once. It's not you, directly you specifically. I'm just saying that would not have changed with this committee.
Do you have anything?
Yeah, I would just add that we're lucky to have as many directors that we have that are incredible and passionate at their jobs, and they've been here a long time, and a lot of them grew into those roles. We don't pay what we need to pay to attract the best of the best of the best. I'm just being honest. And it's good for the public to hear this too, because sometimes they talk about how Eaton County employees are overpaid. And I can tell you, when you look at us compared to cities and townships and nearby entities, we have to make hiring decisions based on the best. Could the only thing we have done differently was just left it vacant? Absolutely. And maybe next time when we get through this budget process, that'll be what we do. We leave it vacant for a long time. The structure we have in place now makes that possible. And it's why we built the parks the way that we did when we reclassified and added the ability for maintenance to be separate, like Claudine had mentioned. That was all in part because we understood the mission and the necessity for parks to be able to have continuity of operations in spite of losing potential leadership. The other thing I would say is, we may not be happy with the results of where things are at, but staff in the Parks Department are working their butts off. And so for any of them watching this meeting, I just want to say thank you and continue to do so. I think as work is identified that they want prioritized from commissioners, they'll get on it. So if there's a particular park where something you think needs to be cleared, let's have that discussion. You have a team of people that are working diligently, so let's knock that stuff out. So I just want to recognize them. And the last piece I'd say is a lot of the work hasn't happened because we were waiting for a strategic plan. And that wouldn't have made a difference about whether or not we had the best director in the world or if it was vacant or anything above. And I know Chad and the facilities people are working very diligently. We're working on permits for roads at Crandall. We're doing the steps, but progress and building out this park system in line with the strategic plan takes time. So hopefully over the next 6 to 12 months, you'll see a bunch of that coming together. But the catalyst of that was the fact that we now have a strategic plan put together. So I understand everybody's passionate about parks. We are doing the best we can with the resources we have. And I'm comfortable with defending what we did. When we did the interview for the directors, it was not a single interview. It was first meeting with staff, then meeting with commissioners. And it wasn't just a meeting and an interview. They had to do a presentation and a pitch talking about how parks could be self-sustainable at the end of 10 years if there was no renewal of a millage. That's where we started out, baseline. You have a millage today, you may not tomorrow. What's your vision for executing a plan where that works? It was a good interview process. And to Jim's point, sometimes you don't know until they're in the job. But based on the candidates we had in the pool, I would do everything same leading up to this point. And if we do hire again, I'm open to feedback on a way we can do that process differently. But we're doing the best we can.
Thank you very much, Ben.
Yep.
Thank you, all the commissioners. Thank you. Educated myself more than what I was when I came in this meeting, so thank you on that. All right, moving on. Item 11, Mid-State Health Network Substance Use Disorder Policy Oversight Council appointment.
So this board, the terms are set by Mid-State, and they do not run on the same cycle as everything else like we normally do at the end of the year. These have an an August expiration date. So they emailed the other day and asked if we could take care of these two appointments. Kim Thalison has been the member of this group for a long time, and Commissioner Mott is the alternate. So I would request those two appointments be sent to the full board.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Support.
All right. Do I have support?
Mr. Mott amenable to that.
Okay, all right, so I got a motion and support. All in favor, signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that moves us on to item 12, limited public comment. Does anybody have any comments they'd like to say? Please come up to the podium and please keep it within 3 minutes.
I've enjoyed the spirited discussion today, and I look forward to working with the county in any way the city can in the future. And again, thank you all for your diligence in what you do, because I know it's hard to sit behind that horseshoe. So, thank you.
I also want to say thank you for the support and partnership that we've had for many years. I know without a doubt this body supports the need to provide mental health services and supports to vulnerable residents of the county, and also understands your statutory requirements to partner with CMH in assuring a strong safety net. There are a lot of complexities to all of this, and today I woefully failed to adequately explain to you how the rebid plan will remove public oversight, eliminate local management, fragment and jeopardize care to some of our most vulnerable residents. I would like to request the opportunity to send you some additional materials and information about this, and for the opportunity to perhaps reconsider the resolution at a future meeting. Thank you.
Do we have any other public comments? Okay, seeing none, that takes us to adjournment. Our next meeting will be 2 July.